Go to the mirror right now. Tilt your head back and look closely at the creases of your neck, or check your underarms. If you see a patch of skin that looks slightly darker than the rest of your body, almost like a smudge of dirt that refuses to wash off, do not scrub it. Do not ignore it. That mark is not poor hygiene. It is a biological siren screaming that your system is critically overloaded with sugar. You clicked on this video because you are worried. Maybe you have noticed changes in your skin, or maybe you just feel off, and you cannot explain why. You are right to be concerned. Your skin is the largest organ in your body, and it acts like a massive dashboard warning system. Long before a doctor diagnoses you with type 2 diabetes, long before you have a heart attack, and long before you risk losing a foot, your skin is trying to tell you that you are in danger. In the next few minutes, we are going to decode the 7 specific, weird, and often ignored signs that your blood sugar is dangerously high right now. Some of these are so subtle you might have had them for years without realizing they were red flags. Others are so common that you probably dismiss them as just aging. But I need you to stay with me until the very end. Because while the dark patch on your neck is the most visible sign, there is a specific, terrifying symptom that appears on your feet sign, number 1. That is the number 1 predictor of amputation in diabetic patients. If you see that one, you have 0 time to waste. But first, we need to talk about the dirty neck syndrome, because understanding this is the key to saving your life. Let's start with the sign that likely brought you here. Medical professionals call it Acanthosis Nigricans. Let's call it what it is, the insulin stain. Imagine for a moment that your bloodstream is a highway. When you eat carbohydrates, they break down into glucose the cars on the highway. Normally, a hormone called insulin acts like the traffic police, directing those cars into the parking lots, your cells to be used for energy. But when you have been eating a modern diet for decades, those parking lots get full. The traffic police insulin starts shouting louder and louder. Your pancreas pumps out massive amounts of insulin to force the sugar into the cells. Here is the problem. Insulin is a growth hormone. It makes things grow. When you have toxic levels of insulin flooding your blood because of high sugar, it confuses your skin cells. It tells the pigment cells in the folds of your body, your neck, your armpits, your groin to reproduce rapidly. They multiply out of control, creating that thick, velvety, dark texture. It is literally an overgrowth of skin caused by a hormonal flood. If you have this, you are likely already insulin resistant. But here's the good news. This is reversible. I have seen patients who thought they were scarred for life watch these patches fade away simply by fixing the root cause. But you cannot fix it with a cream. You have to fix the traffic jam inside. This brings us to sign number 6, which is often found right next to those dark patches. The mushroom effect, or skin tags. We all get 1 or 2 of these as we age, usually where our clothes rub against our skin. But I am talking about something different. I am talking about a sudden crop of them. Maybe you woke up one month and noticed 5, 10, or even 20 tiny flaps of flesh hanging off your eyelids, your neck, or under your breasts. It looks like a garden of weeds has sprouted on your skin. Think back to what we just discussed about insulin being a growth hormone. When your blood sugar is chronically high, your body is swimming in a fertilizer for growth. Skin tags are essentially benign tumors caused by this excess fertilizer. They are the tip of the iceberg. If you are seeing these mushrooms popping up on the surface, imagine what that same growth fertilizer is doing to the cells inside your body. There is a direct statistical link between the number of skin tags a person has and their risk of developing full-blown type 2 diabetes. If you have more than 3 skin tags on your body right now, consider this your second warning shot. Your metabolic engine is running hot, and it is starting to warp the structure of your body. Now let us move to a sign that is much harder to spot because it doesn't have a color. It has a texture. Sign number 5 is called digital sclerosis. Sclerosis means hardening. I want you to do a quick test with me right now. It will only take 5 seconds. Put your hands together in a prayer position. Press your palms flat against each other and try to straighten your fingers completely. Can you do it, or do your fingers feel stiff? Is the skin on the back of your hands waxy, tight, and thick, making it hard to close the gap between your fingers? If you cannot press your palms flat, or if the skin on your knuckles feels like thick wax paper, this is digital sclerosis. High blood sugar acts like a slow-moving glue in your bloodstream. Over time, the excess glucose attaches itself to the proteins in your body, specifically the collagen and elastin, that keep your skin flexible. This process is called glycation. Think of it like caramelizing an onion. You take something fresh and crisp, add sugar and heat, and it becomes sticky and brown. That is exactly what is happening to your connective tissue. Your skin is literally being caramelized from the inside out. It loses its stretch, it becomes hard. And if it is happening to the skin on your hands, rest assured, it is also happening to the blood vessels in your heart and the tiny capillaries in your kidneys. Speaking of kidneys, this leads us directly to sign number 4. And this is where things get interesting because this sign often gets misdiagnosed as an allergy or dry winter skin. We are talking about the unrelenting itch. I am not referring to a mosquito bite. I am talking about a deep, maddening itchiness, usually on your lower legs, feet, or hands, that no amount of expensive lotion seems to fix. You scratch until you bleed, but the relief never comes. Why? Because the problem isn't on the surface. The problem is in the pipes. When your blood sugar spikes, your body goes into emergency mode. It tries to flush the toxic sugar out the only way it knows how, through your urine. This is why you might be peeing more often. But to make that urine, your body has to pull water from somewhere. It sucks the moisture out of your cells, leaving your skin completely dehydrated from the inside. But there is a second, more sinister reason for the itch. High glucose attacks your nerves. It eats away at the protective coating of your nerve endings, causing them to misfire. That itch you feel is actually a phantom signal from dying nerves. This mechanism the body desperately trying to flush sugar but failing is the core of the problem. You see, in a healthy body, there is a tiny door on every cell called the GLUT-4 receptor. When you eat, this door is supposed to swing open, let the sugar in, and burn it for fuel. But for most of us over 50, that door is rusted shut. The hinge is broken. Scientists have been obsessed with finding a way to grease this hinge. Interestingly, there has been a breakthrough in understanding a specific mechanism, guardian of the blood sugar drain in your kidneys that gets clogged up with a weird gray protein as we age. When this drain is clogged, the sugar backs up into your blood, causing that itch, that darkness, and those skin tags. I was reading a report recently about a specific nutrient profile, something called sucre, that targets this exact mechanism. It is fascinating because it doesn't just try to lower insulin, it aims to unblock the drain itself. It is a completely different way of looking at why our sugar stays high. I actually linked that report in the description below because it explains the biology of this stuck door much better than I can. If you are dealing with that unrelenting itch or that waxy skin, understanding how to reopen those cellular doors is the most critical thing you can do. It is not about starving yourself. It is about fixing the mechanics. But we are not done. The signs we have discussed so far are warnings, yes. But the next 3 signs, especially the one on the shin and the one on the foot, are the ones that signal imminent danger. These are the signs that say the damage has moved from warning to destruction. Let's talk about sign number 3, diabetic dermopathy, or what doctors often call shin spots. Look at the front of your lower legs, right along the shin bone. Do you see small, round, brownish depressions? They look a bit like age spots or old scars from bumping into a coffee table. Most people ignore them. They think, oh, I must have bruised myself and forgotten about it. No, you didn't. These spots are caused by the destruction of the tiny blood vessels that supply the skin. Because high sugar is corrosive, it effectively burns out the microcapillaries. When those tiny vessels die, the skin above them starts to starve. It thins out, caves in, and changes color. These spots are painless, which is why they are so dangerous. Pain would make you go to the doctor. But silence makes you stay home. If you have these spots, it means your microcirculation is being compromised. And if the circulation in your shins is dying, you have to ask yourself, what is happening to the circulation in your eyes? What is happening to the circulation in your brain? The vascular system is one continuous loop. You cannot have damage in one place without risk in another. We are approaching the most critical part of this video. The next sign involves a type of blister that appears without a burn. And the final sign number 1, is the one you absolutely cannot miss if you want to keep your mobility. We're going to dive into exactly what that looks like and the simple mirror test you need to do on your feet tonight. But before we get there, you need to understand one thing. Your body is resilient. It is fighting for you. Every one of these ugly spots, tags, And itches is your body trying to save you by pushing the toxicity out to the surface, away from your vital organs. It is buying you time. But that time is running out. Time is running out because once the microcirculation in your legs begins to die, the countdown to more severe complications accelerates. We ended part 1 discussing the brown spots on your shins, those silent indicators that your capillaries are starving. But now we move into territory that is rare, bizarre, and an absolute confirmation that your blood sugar management has failed. This brings us to sign number 2, the ghost blisters. Medical textbooks call this bulicis diabeticorum. Imagine waking up one morning, pulling back the sheets, and finding a large, clear blister on your hand, your toe, or the side of your foot. Your first thought is, did I burn myself? Did I wear tight shoes? But there is no pain. There is no redness. There is no inflammation. It looks like a burn blister, but it appeared out of nowhere, like a ghost. This is one of the weirdest and most specific signs of high blood sugar. It happens because the glue that holds the layers of your skin together is failing. Your skin consists of the epidermis on top and the dermis below. These layers are normally stitched together tight. But when glucose levels are chronically high, it interferes with the proteins that act as that stitching. The layers simply detach from each other and fluid fills the gap. Why is this terrifying? Because if your skin is literally falling apart spontaneously on the outside, imagine the structural integrity of your organs on the inside. Imagine the walls of your arteries losing their glue. These blisters usually heal on their own within a few weeks, which leads many people to ignore them. They think, oh, that was strange, and move on. Do not move on. If you see a painless blister appear without a cause, your body is screaming that its structural integrity is compromised. It is a sign that your glucose levels are not just high. They are volatile. And this leads us, inevitably, to sign number 1. This is the sign that keeps podiatrists and vascular surgeons awake at night. It is the precursor to the thing everyone fears most: amputation. We are talking about necrobiosis lipoidica. This sounds like a mouthful, but the visual is unmistakable. It usually starts as a small raised red bump, often on the lower legs. It looks a bit like a pimple, but over time it expands into a patch. And this patch is different from the brown shin spots we talked about earlier. These patches turn yellow, reddish, or brown. But the key texture to look for is waxy. The skin in the center of the patch becomes shiny and thin, almost like the skin of a porcelain doll. You might even see tiny red blood vessels crisscrossing under the surface of this yellow, waxy area. This is necrobiosis lipoidica. It is rare. It affects less than 1% of people, but it is almost exclusive to those with serious blood sugar issues. It represents a deep inflammation of the fat and collagen under the skin. The skin becomes so thin and fragile that the slightest bump hitting your leg on a car door, a scratch from a pet, can cause the skin to break open. And because your circulation is shot, that break does not heal. It becomes an ulcer, an open wound that invites bacteria. And here is the brutal truth about why this leads to amputation. High blood sugar gives you a double penalty. Penalty 1, it feeds bacteria. Bacteria love sugar. Your blood is essentially offering an all-you-can-eat buffet to infection. Penalty 2, it paralyzes your immune system. Your white blood cells, the soldiers that fight infection, become sluggish and drunk in a high-sugar environment. So you have a waxy, fragile patch of skin, sign number 1, that breaks open into a wound that won't close, infected by supercharged bacteria that your immune system can't fight. That is the trajectory. That is why we check our feet. That is why we look for the yellow patches. But I promised you at the beginning of this video that we would not just deal in fear. We deal in solutions. If you are sitting there looking at your hands, checking your neck, or examining your shins, and you recognize these signs, you might be feeling panicked. You might be thinking, is it too late for me? The answer is an absolute, resounding nitrogen monoxide. It is not too late. Your body is incredibly forgiving if and only if you stop the assault. The skin signs we talked about, the dirty neck, the skin tags, the waxy shins, they are all symptoms of a single root cause: the overflow. Your body is overflowing with glucose because the doors to your cells are locked. Remember the rusty door analogy? The GLUT-4 receptors? For years, the standard advice has been eat less, move more. And while diet and exercise are non-negotiable, they often fail for people over 50 because they are trying to force sugar into cells that simply won't open. You can starve yourself, but if the door is locked, your energy levels crash, your hunger spikes, and the sugar still stays in your blood, rotting your nerves and discoloring your skin. You have to grease the hinge. You have to unlock the door. Earlier, I mentioned that report about Zucker and the new research into reactivating those GLUT4 receptors. This is the missing piece of the puzzle for so many people. It turns out that there is a specific mechanism that gets gummed up as we age, preventing the insulin key from turning the lock. When you clear that gumminess, the door swings open. The sugar rushes out of your blood and into your muscles where it belongs. And what happens next is almost like magic. When the sugar leaves the blood, the itching stops because the nerves can finally breathe. The kidneys stop frantically pulling water from your skin, so the dryness disappears. The growth fertilizer of insulin drops, so the skin tags stop sprouting and eventually wither away. The dark patches on your neck begin to fade as your skin cells go back to a normal reproduction rate. Your skin clears up because the emergency is over. The dashboard warning lights turn off because the engine is finally running smooth. I want you to do 2 things tonight. First, take a serious inventory of your skin. Check your feet, check your neck, check the backs of your hands. Be honest with yourself about what you see. Second, go to the description below this video and click that link I left for you. Read the research on the stuck door phenomenon. Watch the video that explains how simple nutrients things that have been hidden in plain sight can help re-engage those GLUT4 receptors. It is easy to ignore a skin tag. It is easy to ignore a little itch. But these are small whispers before the scream. Don't wait for the scream. Don't wait for the ulcer. You have the knowledge now. You know what these signs mean. Now you need the tool to fix the mechanism behind them. Click the link, educate yourself on the solution, and take control of your health today. Your body is waiting to heal. You just have to give it the chance. I'm rooting for you. Thanks for watching Prime Health Daily, and I'll see you in the next video.